The prosecution in the George Hughley murder trial rested its case yesterday. The UVA lacrosse player is accused in the beating death of his ex-girlfriend Yardley Love. The defense opened its case by asking the judge to dismiss the most serious charge of first-degree murder against their client. The judge overruled that motion. Hughley's attorneys then presented their medical examiner, who said Love's death was an accident that she smothered in her pillow. The examiner also said hemorrhages in Love's brain were caused by CPR efforts to revive her. Attorney Steve Allen with Hodis Pessin & Katz has been following the trial. He joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Patrice.
All right, so the prosecution rested yesterday. What do you make of the case that they presented?
Well, I think the prosecution presented a very strong second-degree murder case. They demonstrated that Hughley was a violent individual with violent tendencies, and he went over that night intoxicated, intending to have some form of confrontation. But most importantly, they showed that the level of violence was so great that it's really just not an accident.
The defense is up now. Their first step was to tell the judge the state didn't meet their level of evidence against my client. Let's dismiss the first-degree murder charge.
Well, I think the first-degree murder charge is really very tenuous because you don't really have any premeditation going over intending to kill.
But the judge didn't dismiss it.
That's because at the end of the state's case, the judge is required to view all the evidence in a light most favorable to the state. Later on, he may, I don't expect, a jury verdict of first degree.
Let's talk about George Hughley and the way the defense has presented him physically in court. And you let me know if that's by design. We see him now very thin, much more frail looking, much more diminutive than we've seen in his mugshots, where he was a bigger guy and, some would say looked maybe menacing. Is that by design that he looks the way he does now?
No, I think that's a product of 2 years in jail.
Okay.
But he is showing all of the outward emotions of remorse and being very upset at Yardley's death. That, I'm sure, is somewhat coached.
All right, the defense attorneys have put up their medical examiners who have refuted everything that the prosecution's medical examiners have said. They said she suffocated, the blood that built up in her mouth, she suffocated. That's not necessarily Hughley's fault. And that the hemorrhaging on her brain was caused by CPR, where prosecutors say blunt force trauma. Two extremely different versions of what would have happened.
Well, what the defense has to do is demonstrate it was an accident, that what happened was not the natural and probable consequence of what Hughley did. So this is all part of that part of the defense. The second part of the defense will be to show that Hughley did not intend to have a confrontation that night.
And if the father, we were talking earlier before we came on the air, if the father takes the stand, walk me through what you expect to hear.
Well, what I would expect to hear from the father, and of course this is a guess, but based on many years of experience, I would expect the father to testify that he and Hughley had discussed Yardley during the day when they were playing golf, that Hughley was remorseful about the nature of their relationship, and he was going over there that night for one of two reasons: either to patch things up or apologize and put a permanent end. And then that would give the defense the ability to argue things got out of control, they both had an emotional outburst, and it was an accidental killing.
All right, we're going to continue to follow it. We'll have you back in and discuss the newest developments.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Steve. Stay tuned for continuing coverage of this story. We'll talk to an expert about some of the signs to look out for when it comes to domestic violence. Plus, we'll answer some of your questions on that topic. You can send us a tweet at Fox Baltimore, or you can go to our Facebook page and post your questions there. Coming up, don't be fooled by the commercials.
Everything's better with Blue Bonnet on it.
Not all butter substitutes are better for your health. The nutrition warning you need to look out for and the damage it's doing to your heart. And in our hometown hotspot, exploring the universe, one planet at a time, which day of the week you can catch a free planetarium show. 6:53 is the time. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.